Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sarel van Grenen, aka Mr. VG, and I am excited to do this video with you about arguably the least favorite type of equations, which are all about fractions. When we talk about equations, the most important tool in fractions is your LCD, or your lowest common denominator. Now, I don't always understand why students find this so difficult, but it's fractions, so I've got a lot of forgiveness for you. Let's start by just looking at the lowest common denominator in 4 cases. The first one is simply the numbers 2 and 3. So the first number they can go into, and this is 6. If I look at the 4 and the 5, looking at number 2, first of all, the numbers. Looking at the multiples of 5, the first number that 4 and 5 can go into is 20. Then it has to have an x in it, and it also has to have a y in it. So in other words, your LCD is 20xy. Now number 3 is where life becomes a tad more interesting, where I've got 3x, x squared, and 4x. First of all, your numbers. So with the 3 and the 4, your LCD is 12. Now there has to be an x in it because at least one of them have an x in it. But you're always going to look for the highest power of x. So with a 2 in it. And there's your LCD. When it comes to 4, this one you're going to have to just take my word for this one. This is a bit of a higher end grade 9 question, maybe like an entry grade 10 question, but it's not that the teacher can't ask it of you. Please get that x plus 1 and x minus 4 are 2 completely different numbers. So in other words, they both have to be in your LCD. So if there was an x plus 3 and an x plus 5, both of them would have gone in there. You can't separate the x and the plus 1 and the x and the minus 4 and try and put them in separately. No. That's why I put it in brackets. It helps to put these expressions in brackets. So let's look at the first sum. Solve for x. At this moment, I encourage you to follow the method your teacher showed you, because there are many different methods of solving for x here. I would not move x's around or anything until I'm sure what kind of an equation this is. So my approach is always start off with the LCD. The LCD of 3, 2, and 1 is 6. So I'm first of all going to try and get my denominators the same. So my first one, I'm going to end up with 2x over 6 minus 3x over 6 equal to 24 over 6. So on the left-hand side, I could just as well write this as a single fraction. So in the exams, I'm actually, ladies and gents, going to skip that step. I'm just going to jump from that step to making it one fraction. And you'll now see why I do that. What is the inverse operation of 6? Of divide by 6? Oh, my words. What's the inverse operations of divide by 6? Well, multiply by 6. So I'm going to multiply by 6 on both sides. Why? Because then the denominators go away. So in other words, I'm sitting on the left with negative x because 2x minus 3x is negative x. On the right-hand side, I'm sitting with 24. Now, what kind of an equation is that? Oh, it's linear, sir. So I'm going to try and isolate x. So I'm going to divide both sides by -1, leaving me with a final answer of x being -24. Whew, this is fun. And I'm going to use this exact method in all sums that I do, even through to grade 11 and grade 12. So when I look at these two sums, I encourage you, try it yourself first before you watch the rest of this video. At number 2, I'm first of all going to look at my LCD. 3, 4, and 5 is going to lead me towards an LCD of 20 or 60. I forgot about the 3. So 60, and it needs to have an x in it. So I'm going to try and get my denominators to be 60x. So by the 3, I'm going to times by 20. What I do in the denominator, I've got to do in the numerator, bottom and top. The 4 needs a 15 and an x. So I'm going to do the same at the top. Woo! Let me jump back there for a moment. My apologies. Okay? Press the wrong button there. So I'm going to get my 5x to be times by 12. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to have 80 minus 45x equal to 24 over 60x. Let's think about now, what is the inverse operation of divide? Well, I'm going to multiply by a 60x straight through, which means the 60x's are going to cancel out left and right, and it leaves me with 80 minus 45x equal to 24. What kind of an equation is that? It is linear. So I'm going to try and isolate x. So I'm going to take that 80 to the other side. So it's going to be a negative 80 because I'm subtracting 80 actually on both sides. And I am going to be left with negative 45x over negative 45 because I'm trying to isolate x. So therefore x is positive 56 over 45. And we leave it as that. But so it's a fraction. So what? It's just a number. You don't have to dislike it just because it is a fraction. Let's look at this number 3. Now, number 3 is a bit of a funny bunny because of this x minus 1 and the x plus 3. So what am I going to do? My LCD, first of all, has to have an x minus 1 and an x plus 3 in it. So I'm going to multiply by x minus or x plus 3 at the bottom left and top left. And I'm going to add an x minus 3 and an x minus 1 at the top. But when I mean add, I mustn't confuse you. I must multiply by x minus 1 top and bottom. This leads me towards having this expression in my sum, which looks a lot worse than the original. But remember, I can get rid of my denominators by multiplying by the LCD. Because everything's just going to cancel out, gonna divide away. So on the left, I actually have 2x plus 3 equal to, on the right, 5x minus 1. Because I might not be sure what kind of an equation this is, I'm going to distribute my brackets in. This is linear, so I need to get all my x's to one side so I can isolate x. So I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides, and add and subtract 6 on both sides. And this leads me towards negative 3x equal to negative 11. Dividing by negative 3, my answer is 11 over 3. Ladies and gents, I know most of you don't like fractions, but we have a few basic steps. Always put on the LCD. Then your LCD is going to fall away. Then you solve it as if it is a normal equation. This is Sarel van Grenen, aka Mr. VG, signing out. Have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. Go and be awesome just the way you are. Keep well. Cheers.